So big developments in the United States today. Former President Donald Trump has been charged with trying to undermine the 2020 elections that he lost. Now, this is the first time the United States has indicted a former president on such charges. Trump is, of course, hoping for re-election next year as well. I'm joined now by our correspondent, Benjy Hyer, comes to us from Washington, D.C. Benjy, extraordinary times. I wonder if you could start by breaking down the charges and then tell us exactly what is expected when he is due to appear in court on Thursday.
Absolutely. In fact, I've got the indictment here in front of me, and you can read the charges literally on the front, on the first page of this 45-page document. Number 1, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Number 2, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. The official proceeding being an accounting of electoral votes that was going on inside the US Capitol when the riot unfolded and people breached the heart of American democracy. The allegation by prosecutors in here is that Donald Trump sowed the seeds of mistrust about the election, claiming falsely that it was stolen from him, and then seeking through various attempts to overturn its outcome, culminating in that deadly insurrection attempt at the US Capitol. Other charges include obstruction and attempt to obstruct an official proceeding and conspiracy against rights. This indictment is very clear. It effectively summarises this argument in the first point, and if I can just read it for you, it says the grand jury, the defendant I should say, Donald J. Trump, was the 45th president of the United States, a candidate for re-election in 2020, and then it says the defendant lost the 2020 election. That ultimately is the crux of the matter here. The Department of Justice putting forward this case in 45 pages that Donald Trump is responsible for various efforts to try to win that election back illegally from Joe Biden. He is set to appear in court at 4 p.m. local time tomorrow. He'll be arraigned. This is the third time that Donald Trump has gone through these proceedings in the past couple of months alone. The difference being this one is happening in Washington, D.C., literally a stone's throw from the scene of the alleged crime.
I mean, this is incredibly serious. Listening to you explaining the charges, I mean, it sounds essentially like charges of treason. Incredibly serious. What is Donald Trump saying?
Donald Trump has come out furiously on Truth Social, not just today, but yesterday. He preempted the fact this indictment was coming, and then when it dropped, said that his treatment is reminiscent, this is his words, of Nazi Germany. So he's obviously taking an extremely strong line here. We're going to hear what sort of legal arguments his team takes in a trial if it comes. He'll lean on the fact that, according to him, he's simply using his First Amendment rights, and there's nothing explicit in here which says that he knows that he lost the election. He could claim, for example, that he genuinely believed there was some sort of conspiracy against him. It is up to the prosecutors to try to prove otherwise. What's remarkable, of course, is that Donald Trump is continuing to fight for his innocence as he vies for the Oval Office again. He remains the frontrunner in the Republican nomination to get back in the White House and take it from Joe Biden. And instead of his poll numbers falling or his fundraisers falling as these allegations land on him and his legal woes compound, instead we're seeing him rise in the polls, and he's trying to make money from a fundraising perspective off this as well. He's branding this as a vicious persecution, an attempt by the administration to stop him at the courts instead of at the ballot box.
It's astonishing. So let's dig a little deeper into these presidential ambitions. Is this trial likely to kick off before next year's election? Does it have to conclude and find him guilty to actually stop him from taking part in next year's election?
These are the really key questions, and I think ultimately it comes down to, is there time? Because this is not the only investigation at which Donald Trump is at the heart of. There are trials that are set in the diary for 2024 on a separate case, his alleged mishandling of classified documents. Also, a hush money payment, an alleged hush money payment in New York, and we're expecting further charges to come from the state of Georgia, again, for alleged election meddling. It is not yet confirmed if this trial would happen before the presidential election in 2024. Donald Trump, from his perspective, wants this stalled as long as possible. His ultimate goal here is to win the presidency, and then, well, he has a plethora of options. Replace the Attorney General, maybe even pardon himself. Prosecutors, Jack Smith, the special counsel leading this investigation, has said that he wants a speedy trial. He wants Donald Trump convicted and sentenced before that November vote. But to answer your question, even if he's found guilty, even if Donald Trump is convicted and sentenced, he still says he will not step back from that race. And legally, constitutionally, he doesn't have to. Obviously, technically, it may be very, very difficult to run for the presidency, to run the country from behind bars.
Absolutely astonishing developments, and I think we'll be all eyes tomorrow when Donald Trump appears in court. Thank you so much, Benjy Hyer in Washington, D.C.